Hello, this is Tim, and this will be about the flora and fauna, the flowers, plants, and animals, as well as some possible, I don't know, more monsters. I guess I could have included some of these in the monsters video, but I'm going to put them here instead. The first video is the Blontia, Blontia, and they are flying creatures of black and blue skin, muscle, and bone that are immune to electricity, and they shock their prey when they bite. They are featherless and have only one leg with a large webbed foot that holds they pretty much hold it behind them when they fly. They like to hang upside down with this foot when they're resting. The creature has a forked beak with barbs that rips flesh from their prey. These creatures are predators, and they have a 10-foot wingspan and reside mostly on the tops of the very tall sort of obelisk spires of black volcanic glass. They have 6 wings that flap together at the same time, but they're separated by some space. They are known to live in groups, but a lot of the males are usually solitary. They have tufts of white fur on their backs, and some Blancia are known to actually be friendly if they are provided with a meat source. The next thing is it's called a demon vine or a devil vine. These plant-like things are very movable and they're very violent. They sprout out where blood of demons or devils has spilled on the volcanic glass ground. It's a long vine with sharp barbed hooks that are tiny, and they basically lash out and they try to blend in with the black volcanic glass and then kind of just grab you while you're moving past. They're fairly long and they like to coil themselves up. They kind of attack like a snake does, and they attach themselves and try to wind you up and pull you in. They constrict their victims, and they'll also kind of try to squeeze the blood out of things through the lacerations that they do with their hooks. They feed on blood, and they will die if they don't have a food source for 8 weeks. So they're pretty nasty. The ghoul worm is a living strand of negative energy that feeds on flesh in the material plane. These worms are most often found in the bodies and corpses, especially rotting corpses of animals. They have the ability to control flesh by possessing it and using the flesh as a ghoul worm host. So these things are kind of parasites. This host they use as a means to consume other flesh in larger quantities. Ghoul worms are susceptible to things like removed disease and such like that, and they are considered undead. So they control corpses, they control living hosts, and slowly devour them until they die. This thing's pretty nasty. These things also kind of fly free during the dust storms that are happen very often in Tyria. These things are all around nasty. In fact, if you're a GM, you might not want to use these things too often because these things will probably creep some people out. Glorash are translucent, papery, dry creatures with sort of an oily outside to them. They float through the air and they latch on to unsuspecting travelers. They bite them with their many teeth that line their bodies. Their mouth is a darker colored tissue that absorbs the digested material because they exude powerful acidic juices as well as a poison that can paralyze. They are about a foot in radius, and they are about 3 inches thick. So basically they latch on, paralyze things, and slowly digest them, and they fly through the air. Alright, I don't have any pretty pictures for the rest of these creatures, so I'm just going to talk about them. In addition to the demons and devils that kind of reside in the Hex and come come up, especially during the festival days. They have manipulated a lot of the creatures as well. They've kind of twisted them and kind of picture someone that abuses an animal. That's what demons do a lot, and they kind of, twist what they originally were. So whatever animal you can come up with, including sort of like the stupid, quote unquote D&D monsters that are kind of like mixes and matches of animals, those are all very possible in this hex. Some of the other animals, some of the animals actually eat the black volcanic glass, but most of them sort of eat other animals. Usually, I guess the food chain, the ecosystem would be the plants that slowly digest the black volcanic glass or absorb the energy from the magical ley lines. Some of the plants actually eat other animals. There are dark fairies that kind of fly around, and they kind of glow. And they're kind of a mix between like a dark fairy and a firefly, in that they go into hibernation once a month, and they really only come out for the festival days. They're kind of like locusts in their description and how they look, and they breed and then they hibernate again. They're chaotic and nasty, and they kind of mainly focus on mating with other dark fairies before they go into hibernation. There are sort of like these demon gorilla looking things. Rumors are they might have been summoned as well. They're slightly more intelligent than normal gorillas, and they're actually domesticated and mostly non-violent. These are sort of used as like pack mules and sometimes riding animals if they're fairly intelligent. A lot of them have like heavy backpacks that they wear. They will fight if they're cornered or abused, but they really can't be trained for battle. So those are some of the animals. The Tyria plants, I have to emphasize that the Tyria plants do not need water. They pretty much feed off of the magical power of the ley lines in the sky. A lot of the plant life will actually grow off of the spires. And a lot of the birds in the area will feed off these plants, and they kind of hover up in the air. There's three real plants that are interesting. One is the Lontilla flower. Lontilla flower only springs up in the volcanic glass where an act of sex was performed, especially during party days. Because of this, lovers prefer the wilds to those cramped offices and labor camp housing that they normally reside in. A Lontilla flower has a dark black stem, red leaves, black, and sort of like black lines in the center of the leaves. The flower itself is a sort of a purple, and the outsides are a vibrant orange. This flower lives for as long in weeks as the sexual act lasted in minutes. There's a Lontusa flower, which is the same thing. It's similar. It's slightly different in color, and that's for an act of sex that happened where devils and demons made love to attend. And there are also mutterweeds. Mutterweeds are sort of a grass-like weed / parasite. They sort of have a sleep-inducing sonic attack. They crawl over slowly and then begin to grow out of the thing that is still sleeping there, and eventually they kill it. It then uses the corpse to produce seeds, and then animates the corpse to distribute the seeds. So this is kind of a disturbing Johnny Appleseed kind of thing with the mutterweeds. And they also kind of have this low droning noise that basically sounds like someone muttering. As I said before, many of these plants grow on the tall, sort of obelisk-type spires of black volcanic glass. Some tins have actually formed sort of farms, and they have ropes and structures that they use to extend the growing area for these sorts of plants. A lot of red fungus and sort of mosses are also grown and used for food, and these also absorb the magical energy of the ley lines. So most of this activity is actually going on above the surface of the ground. The ground is mostly black volcanic glass, and on these spires there's a lot of plant life, and there's a lot of animal life because that's where the plants are.